that they had sex with your mother or something like that.
What a time to go live when you're the one who pushed the button, Aaron.
It takes a while.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be the first thing on stream. Aaron saying something about having sex with your mother. Not the first time you said that on stream or in life in general.
Honestly, no,
Wow.
it's not the first time I've said that. But
Yeah,
I more would heavily imply it that I was like the director of your mother, but you know, whatever. It's okay.
implied, not explicitly stated.
And that was not it. It was about the 12-year-olds in Call of Duty. So there.
Anyway, so for probably Alana, and if there's anybody else watching, this is our Monster Hearts campaign wrap up, which I didn't really plan anything for because I don't know, I've never done one of these, but it sounded like a thing to do.
Sure.
So, what did we think?
Loved
About
it.
all of it.
Like, it was all right. Again, no, it was awesome. I had a lot of fun.
It was okay.
It was okay.
I mean, do I think that there were things that we should have done differently? Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Like
do
in
I
theory,
wish
this should have been a planned out campaign with like a goal.
Yeah. Oh, you mean this 8-session one shot? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, with 9.
Oh, was it 9?
Technically.
Nice.
It was
Well,
10,
technically.
guys. The 10th one
God.
isn't out yet, but
Holy
I'm
shit.
currently working on episode number 10. So,
But that's because we split the first one in 2, right?
that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
But still, 9 sessions.
For a one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is my number 1, and that's I think I pretty explicitly said to Aaron a couple of episodes ago, like, I'm not mad about this, but I will definitely not say yes until I have something planned
Concrete.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
that makes sense.
to expanding past a one shot. I'm okay with like running a one shot, not having anything else planned, because that's just how it's supposed to be in theory.
Right. That's what one shots are about.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So I feel like it's interesting because I feel like we played 2 different games over the course of the time, if that makes sense. Because like I feel like the first part was definitely at school and even when we went to Thanksgiving, but then all of a sudden after the hell road trip, it became a completely different game. And it was way less horny and it was weird.
I tried to
I know,
give people the option to seduce randos.
Demon,
and,
yes,
like,
I know.
So I enjoy the horny storyline, and I also enjoy the non-horny storyline. So I'm cool with it.
Also, to be fair, Millie and Parker kept it horny all the time.
True.
That's true. But that was also an interesting thing. And because I am the one that edits the podcast, I spend way more time with any of these characters than probably anyone else ever.
True.
And so I have so much time to think back before we play the next game. And I have thought on all these things. But immediately, once Parker was introduced, there was a point where you said they talked about having lost their virginity on the Macarena. And I was like,
I forgot about that.
At that point, I almost was like, nope, this is not going to happen. Like, not going to cheat on my girlfriend for somebody who. But then the thing about the fur being spray painted, the fuzz being spray painted, and it just kept coming up how insecure they were. And I had been playing Millie as insecure over and over again. And I was like, well, Millie's going to protect this person that she's become so attached to. And
everyone knows the healthiest relationships come from 2 very deeply insecure people.
That's
getting
super
together.
True. Super true. Everyone
never ends poorly for anyone.
No, absolutely. Yeah. But I had been playing Millie as in my mind as a very insecure person and was always trying to make herself.
I mean, and it was really like you that part was subtle, but like you couldn't really tell all the time. Like Millie came off as like
Mm.
overly confident, I guess, outwardly. Which is cool. I like that.
That
Makes
that
sense,
was the intent. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It came out off that way for sure. I liked it.
I mean, it makes sense because that's like the overcompensating. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so insecure that I'm going to pretend to be very
Yeah,
secure and confident.
for
And
sure.
Yeah. And also I'm
demon.
really, really
A
sorry
demon.
that it ended up being main character Millie. It just I was just the only one who was always there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there was a little bit of main character vibes, even in the one shot, just because that's kind of how it worked out. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody else didn't really step up to that level. You know,
That's
everyone
so funny because I
played
didn't
and
have
had
a
great
voice.
time.
And I feel like I texted Amanda afterward and said, "Thanks for taking me away so I didn't have to talk anymore."
But I also think that's part of like that main character energy of like, I'm just gonna, seduce this werewolf somehow.
Yeah. But like, you know what'd
'Cause
be
I think-
super hot is if I was a demon and I banged a werewolf. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Because I think that was the first hookup in the game,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Although there was reference to the cheerleader
Yeah.
threesome. But the first like
It
on
was
screen
pre-game.
Yes. The first
Yeah,
on
that
screen
was-
action was definitely Millie and Rita.
But when you start your campaign out with like, how do you guys know each other? Jason and I immediately were like, we were in a threesome with cheerleader, and Jason died. Like, it sets
What?
up a certain level.
Right, yeah. There are a level of expectations now. And I'm just saying, I didn't see it turning into a battle between Dolly Parton and capitalism, but I love it. I love where it ended.
Oh, good.
I
And
thought it was
honestly,
amazing.
The Dolly Parton thing was Aaron's fault because you brought it up in the Hell episode. Because I think we've
I
talked
said
about this
Doll-
already.
But I cut the reference so people wouldn't
Oh,
know on the
no.
podcast.
Way to go,
I
Aaron.
say
Disappointing.
something about so it looks like it's Jason's influence is what I made it look like. Because yes, I do affect the story with my editing.
So I should cut this out, what you're saying.
Anyway, I said something about because you said clones have no souls, and I said, "Oh, Dolly," and everybody's like, "What?" And I was like, "Dolly the sheep."
Which, like, that's what I thought, but I also thought Dolly Parton. It was like that 50-50, which one is it?
And then after that, Jason then says at the end of the episode something about Dolly Parton, and I was just yes anding. I was like, yeah, of course she's a powerful sorcerer that I know all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which totally makes sense. If she's a powerful sorcerer, that she would be like your hero. So
yeah,
absolutely
And
makes sense.
We had already established in that episode the apocalypse storyline, that like you guys had caused it by your actions.
I'm going to be honest. I want to know how we caused it because it seemed like they were the ones causing it. Is that retcon?
You caused
or was
it.
So the way that I saw it is like they probably would have destroyed themselves at some point because like capitalism and greed and
the
whatnot.
self-destructive nature, yeah.
Yeah, but then because you guys were this outside threat and
we
came in and like shut
Oh.
things down in that one branch,
Yeah.
then they were like, oh well, we need to like all band together and get our shit together.
Okay. I mean,
And
that honestly, that was a burning question I had. So
yeah, that makes sense. Well, and I don't remember if I actually ended up saying in the last session, but like part of it was no, I think I did. I think they hadn't finished it yet. They were trying to like cure the monsters as well, so that then they would have
Yeah,
like
they
all
hadn't
the power.
gotten that far, I think, was
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because they were going to try and take our powers away from us.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that.
They got to step 1, make a giant monster. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to the profit. They had
Yeah.
a giant ooze mountain dog thing of
They
it.
did have a giant money monster, yes.
A Goldzilla, if you
A
will.
Goldzilla. Amazing. That's glorious.
I
That's why I was
honestly,
calling it Goldie.
yeah,
Oh my
I
god.
honestly really want art of that.
I was
but, like,
just
I have
gonna
a-
say that. I want a sticker of Goldzilla for my laptop.
But like I have a specific image in mind and I don't know how to describe it
You
because
draw it.
yeah, that's the problem. No, so I'm trying to think. There's some
Alana's like, you rang.
Hello.
right. No, so there was some anime that I remember watching as a young person, and there was like a dog-like creature. It didn't have teeth. It had like I don't know, almost ooze-like stuff,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I was picturing. It's like this dog-like thing. It's not a dog, but you know.
Dog adjacent.
Yeah. Wait, what about Jason?
I said dog adjacent. Didn't say anything about Jason.
So close.
So close.
Jason,
Yeah.
Yep. hmm
and we'll see if he shows up.
Like if you say his name 3 times, he'll appear.
Is my
Yeah.
is my name still Aname? No, it says Aaron. Why?
You not know how to spell your name.
I'm just no, it's the commenter that I don't know said it says anime. So
Because I was just talking about anime.
oh, okay. Sorry.
It's been a week.
It's okay.
know.
Erin's here. She's
And-
fine.
At some point I had my name as Aname, of course.
And I said I was going to call you anime.
yeah.
That's absolutely
And then I
what I
forgot
tried to
about
say
it.
it as.
Oh man, oh my god, but that was way off topic from this, but like that would
Yeah.
make sense for Space Cowboys to be like anime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
for next time.
But-
Anyway, I was going somewhere and I lost it.
I don't know. Hey, Rena, would you or Amanda
Yeah.
thinking about Rena? Did you feel like I don't like how do you feel like we ended up with our fight and stuff? Like I want to know. Inquiring minds.
I think that we should have done more of a conversation on screen, but I know where I was mentally for the last, month has been not great. So that was not really in my wheelhouse for the last month. But I like that we ended up in a place of forgiveness, which I think was good.
Yeah.
I don't know about forgiveness. I think it's more of a like neutral.
Yeah. Not the hate vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you guys aren't BFFs, but you don't
Yeah.
want to murder each other.
Right. Which is good.
But
Sorry for the mild bullying. I do not like the way that I reacted to you in the last episode.
Oh
but-
yeah. No, but also like I felt like that was really real though. Like I really liked that because I felt like I was going for the really insecure in that one because after we had all been captured, it was like all of the time she had been able to pretend like she was in charge.
Right.
And then she's not in charge at all.
I guess I don't remember this bullying. Like I was there allegedly.
Oh yeah. So Parker says something like, "Oh, about my band." And Millie has this really sad response of like, "I always knew you had the soul of a musician." And everybody cracks up.
Rena was like, "Well, I'm over it." That killed any feelings I had left for Aaron.
That's right.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was intended for everyone else to be a comical line. Like I knew that I wanted it to be there. Because I have intentionally given Millie all the it girl lines of like when she was apologizing to Rena, she's like, "I'm sorry you feel that way."
That's such a Jesus. The worst
Yeah.
apology.
I did all of the things that
Yep.
I would like. I was definitely doing specific things in mind.
Yep.
But yeah, when everybody was like that, and she was like, "Oh,
It was good. But Rena's response was definitely like, "Oh wow, Oh wow.
Kind of like when I heard that Parker had lost their virginity to the
The Macarena, yeah. Yeah. It's basically the same response. Like, ooh, you know what? I am less turned on now.
Yeah, and I completely forgot that I even said that because that was so long ago because we had that gap between
Yeah.
like the Thanksgiving episodes and then getting back to it.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to make a stupid callback to last season.
Yeah. No, it was tremendous. And like I said, no one spends more time with the characters than the editor. And
Yeah.
so even when I am not on a season, I still have lots of opinions about how people are playing stuff. And
Right.
yeah, so
So
just
something
me.
that we did not do this entire time, we didn't actually pull strings at all, like ever.
Yeah. I was just looking at the character sheets and we didn't pull strings and we didn't do a lot of like the what's the word I'm looking for? The mechanics, I guess. Like
I mean, we did a lot of
only
the mechanics because like we did the big four. But
Mhm.
one thing that I remembered as I was like looking back at this after our last session is there's some other stuff. And now I can't find it, of course. But there were some other moves that you can do that are like advanced moves,
Right.
basically. And we did not use those. Also, for the NC, which is way less cool than Thirstmaster.
Definitely. You
Yeah.
need to write
Yeah,
them about that.
Yeah, send a
Right.
strongly worded email.
Can we write Monster Hearts 3?
Exactly.
We just like
We
get the
have
rights
thoughts.
to it. Oh, here we go. So growing up moves, which is something that, you know, probably needs to be a thing next time we play this, is like make others feel beautiful, call people on their shit, which we did a lot of, especially the
Just
calling people
naturally.
shit.
We did it
Yeah,
without the mechanics, but yeah, we did
exactly.
And mostly it was always Millie that was being called on her shit. So
Yeah, well, as she should be.
Millie did have some shit to be called on.
I
Yeah,
know.
and one thing that I didn't even really notice beforehand is the season advances. So it encourages you to change your character's skin, which we kind of did unintentionally with Guy.
With Guy.
Guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it was kind of a hybrid. Like I didn't want him to be a full werewolf. I still wanted him to have some of the normal human stuff.
I thought that was cooler making him a hybrid.
Yeah. I think it was more fun that way. So like his darkest self is still like him as an angry dude.
just a really angry dude.
But like werewolf him is not his darkest self.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
and then there
casually
was
a werewolf, darkest self, he's a man. Oh my god.
I mean,
worst.
we
Worse.
the monster who we are the monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then there were two others that I keep forgetting about. So there's intervene in an act of violence, which we kind of did again without the mechanic, but I think that could have been a really fun thing. And then also share your pain. Like those are things that we could have been doing that would have, you know, helped with like the harm, or like whenever we did have kind of combat-y stuff. So something to think about.
That like a separate page that we weren't given with the character sheets.
Yeah,
it's
it's in the
skins.
book,
I mean,
book. It's in the book. I think
Yeah.
it's also because there's another thing that was pinned that was like other skins, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's in there.
oh okay.
Oh, gotcha.
I will say that is one thing I don't really love about Powered by the Apocalypse is I do like that they are kind of easily picked up. You know, once you've played one, you can kind of jump to another.
Right.
But the moves sometimes are a lot to remember, especially like playing Masks recently. There's multiple pages of moves, which makes sense because superheroes should have a lot of options. But holy crap, it's so much sometimes.
Well, and I know, like, I didn't really keep up with advancement as much as I should have.
Yeah,
And when
none
I
of us.
did do advancement, I just always upped one of my scores. But like because honestly, none of the other witch powers had occurred to me. I do know that at some point after like 2 advancements, you can take a move from another playbook. And I
Mhm.
thought about doing that, and I specifically thought about taking a moth person move from Parker, like that they had showed me something.
Right.
But then I was also like, I didn't feel like it made sense. And
Yeah, I don't, because I've not played enough other Powered by the Apocalypse for more than like a one shot, basically.
Mhm.
I don't know how common that is to just get like from another skin or another playbook. I didn't like that part that you can just pick
Yeah.
one from any, because that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you
No.
be able to just take anybody's power? Because that makes you less special at that point.
Yeah. Well, and I had thought about it when Jason was like sure that Millie was pregnant with a moth person baby. And and I was like, well, maybe if she's pregnant with a moth person baby, then she can have moth person powers. But
That
then
would make
also I
sense.
was like,
That would make sense.
first
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, Rick and I did not talk about the possibility of having a character be pregnant. And
I didn't
really
sign up for a
did not-
pregnancy trope this season. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's next season.
Yeah, my bad.
I felt like that was going to be too far. And also Millie, I was trying to already give her an arc, and like too much. The only
Yeah,
thing
that's
was
a-
is that when grandma sold my soul, I had the entire time thought my grandma and I had a great relationship in my head, but Rick was like, no, it's terrible. So I was like,
I mean,
oh, I
I
guess
think you guys had a good relationship, but it was based on a lie.
Right. There's the thing where you grow up with trauma is sometimes you don't recognize it as trauma until you're an adult.
I feel called out. Thank you.
Calling myself out too. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably good that we didn't go for the Millie's pregnant, number one, because apocalypse, and like that's
yeah.
I think
Super
she probably would've-
inconvenient pregnant during an apocalypse.
Well, I also
Yeah,
think
for
that
sure.
would have been like, maybe she needs to like sit out for the rest of the campaign and not go
Fair.
fight
Yeah.
capitalism literally on the back of a giant gold monster.
Yeah. But also like should that happen, I feel like that would be one that and we've been talking about how we need to do more in-depth consent sheets for every and talk about it more, because just
Which is
because
why we
we've been
started it.
playing for each other. Yeah. Which of course all of the people in this game we had played together previously, except maybe Steven.
Yeah, Steven's the only one who I really haven't. Well, I guess I hadn't played with Lee or Rem a whole lot. Lee, last season, but Rem, actually, this might have been the first for me and
Yeah.
Rem. Which I know we did consent sheets, I think, for most of the people.
Mhm.
And like I've played with enough of you on my show that I've already got them from that, because that's just something that I always tried to do.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's good that we're taking a more active role in that, because
Mhm.
it's very possible that, if we weren't familiar with each other and hadn't played together so much, that we
Yeah.
could have crossed some big lines with some of the stuff this season.
Right.
Well, and I even know, like, I was saying to Rick after we played so many games in this week, Orbital
Yeah.
Blues, that I normally talk to somebody if I'm going to approach them as a PC romance. Like, I believe Amanda and I had this conversation before. It was like, I
We did.
stole your chapstick, and like, I think Millie's interested in you. What do you think about it? And so when I hadn't had that conversation with Woody and I was on 3 hours of sleep for like 48 hours, I was not thinking straight. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad Woody was not offended.
You definitely were not thinking straight.
No, not
I
usually.
hardly ever think straight.
But that's another good topic to discuss, is safety tools, because we've already kind of been talking about like the consent sheets, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I really like, and Aaron, you and I have been talking about this, and kind of our difference of opinions on like the safe phrase versus just being able to more specifically say like, hey, I need to pause, or like, can we fast forward this? You know, so I like the safe phrase because, like I had said to you, Aaron, that it's innocuous enough that when we're streaming, for example, if someone's not super comfortable with saying like, hey, this is bothering me, they don't have to call themselves out. You know, they can just say like, hey, I need a cookie. And then we take a break and we talk about it. And then we don't have to say, you know, unless they're comfortable with it, like, hey, we talked about XYZ and we're going to, you know, do this. We can just say like, hey, we're going to back up a little bit. You know, we're going to go back to this point and we're going to restart, you know, without specifically saying. I really like
both
that.
ways. I think having both ways available as an option is good, because I think it's a good thing for people to see when watching streams that like it can be reacted to in a positive way, like hey, we're going to take a pause while we discuss boundaries and we'll be back. But like, I see what you're saying about coming back to it and not calling out the person, like so that they don't have to feel on the spot.
Well, and also I think just it makes some people feel more comfortable to not say like, hey, I am triggered, like I am
for sure
bothered by this. Yeah, it is, you know, we usually do say something at some point, either off stream or on stream, about like having a safe phrase and stuff like that. But it's not quite as hard to say.
It's easier to say I need to grab a cookie than it is to say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this pregnancy trope.
Yes, that's a very specific example. Thank you.
And also, we will never use cookies as our safe phrase, ever.
At least not when we're playing babies.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, the thing is, and I guess I am coming at this maybe differently, because when I did therapeutic role play in therapy, I really wanted people to be able to, and I guess, yeah, in stream, like maybe not everybody's doing like what they're comfortable with, but also if they're uncomfortable saying, I want to take a pause, like, I don't know that I want that person on stream, you know?
Well, not only that, it's just also they are on stream, like they have people watching. It's easier to like, I'm comfortable with you guys, but I may not be comfortable with a bunch of randos watching to be like, hey, everybody doesn't need to know what my trigger is.
Right. I think that's a good point. And because we're not here, you know, I think in therapeutic gaming, it makes perfect sense. Like, you need to be open about those things. But because that's not what we're actively doing, because I mean, I love you all, but like, number one, I'm not licensed and I'm not going to ask you to do that, Aaron. Like, even though, you know, you have that capability, I'm not
anymore.
Well, had, but I'm not going to ask you to do that, you know. But also, I don't, as much as I love all of the people in our community, I don't necessarily want to get into that with all of them, because that is a really hard thing whenever, even if you don't know them well, to be like friend adjacent. That's so hard, you know, to be able to have that conversation and be objective, you know, not to like get your feelings involved in it and things like that.
And I'm actually now thinking back to a time where in a game that I play with these two lovely humans, a time where my character was very upset and just ended up making candles for an entire session because
I knew that's where you're going.
Because I was so pissed off at another player.
Yeah, and that was, I know we had talked initially about like safe phrase and stuff like that, and I think,
but I don't think we had one at that point.
I don't remember. It's been a while since that happened, but
yes,
either way, you know, since then we have, you know, made sure to check in, and you know, that was, it clicked. Where I was going was another safety tool is just checking in afterwards, you know, after Orbital Blues, checking in with that player and saying like, hey, was this okay, or did this cross a line? Thankfully, it was not a line crossed. It was just them being really into the role play. You know, they were just being their character and responding like their character would respond, which is fantastic. But I mean, without going into too much detail, just because, like, I don't know, I don't want to make anyone else who was involved uncomfortable potentially. But, I told you, Aaron, about a recent experience where, like, it was a super unexpected thing. It was a very brief statement, but in a game I was in recently, I didn't even really have like the capability of using the safe phrase because it just like shut me down. Admittedly, it was right after some really difficult stuff had happened, like the day after. So that was probably a lot of it. And that was
Everyone's going to
somewhat
have
on
those
me.
things at some point. So
Yeah.
yeah, a safe phrase is better than nothing. But like you said, sometimes people are going to shut down and at those points they can also private message the DM. But like it's good to have multiple options, I guess.
Mhm.
Just depending on
I
people's comfort
agree.
level.
You've convinced me.
Well, and so I've played in several games where or I've even watched several games on stream where they're like, oh, we have the X card that you can put, in our chat, or you can private message to the GM, storyteller, whatever. To me, that is the worst safety tool, just because when I'm running a game,
You're not
I'm
looking at
not
those chats.
really, yeah, like even if I
Yeah.
do, I'm usually not actively looking at it like throughout. Part of that is just because like I don't have a computer, like I've got my tablet set up here, got my phone next to me, so like I can look at chat as needed. But
Right.
it turns out most of the time whenever I'm on stream, that's when everyone wants to talk to me. So I get like all these messages, and it's really easy to miss. I think for people who have that set up and they really like using that, that's fantastic.
Right.
To be able to like send your GM or to send in your group chat an X saying like, hey, no, we need to stop. And I think, Amanda, you're exactly right that having multiple different options is probably best. It can be a little confusing or a little overwhelming for new players, but
Right. But I think it's the best option as far as like versatility and making sure everybody has a comfort, like has the ability to say what needs to be said. Like
Yeah.
if our process is always to say like, hey, we're going to call it out, then somebody who's not comfortable with that isn't going to do it, and then
right.
they may not come back, and we don't want to make somebody uncomfortable without knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be respectful and stay within people's comfort zones, unless, on like the consent sheet, if it's something that's yellow and they're okay with us having certain things, then, within reason, we want to say like, okay, this is something that we may push a little bit, but let us know, somehow an X in chat or a safe phrase or what have you to say like, okay, we need to.
I like the yellow feature because some things like I'm not very sensitive about many things, but like there are some things that like a heads up is nice just to know to expect it. Like, and I'm fine with it once I know it's going to be there. But like you said, you had something come up and it locked you up. But if you had known ahead of time, like maybe you wouldn't have had that reaction.
And it was not even like, it wasn't the GM. It was a very casual thing. And I don't think it was something on my consent sheet that I had specified, just because it was a pretty recent thing that I hadn't really thought that far ahead. I actually don't know. I should probably fix that.
Like, reminder.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that overall we have done really well. Even if we haven't always remembered to actively talk about safety tools, we're really good just across the board, whether it's here or on my channel, at checking in and discussing things, talking about the problem with that player. We all stayed in very close contact. I think in some ways that probably brought some of us closer. It was like, okay, well now, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
But still, if there's a problem player at your table, you got to talk it out, and see if it's something that we can resolve, or if it's something that maybe somebody needs to go the other way.
Well, and I think in that particular thing, I think I called it out in stream, even though we were streaming. At least in one occasion, I
Yeah.
believe that I did, and I said, "Please don't use that word,"
Yeah,
kind of
at
thing.
least once, yeah. And there were a few other things like that that I can think back to, that were a little off topic for this, but still it's
Yeah.
relevant to
It's
the general
relevant, yeah.
topic. Yeah. There were a few where it's like either in character or out of character. It was like, hey, that's not cool.
Yeah.
That sure, it's a little wishy-washy, so maybe we could have been a little bit stronger and said like, absolutely not. Don't do that again.
It can be hard to set like firm lines like that, especially when it comes to a player that may not fit well with the group. It's hard to be that person that's like, hey, maybe this isn't working out.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't the group for you.
Well, and the thing is, like, in some ways it sucks because, again, kind of off topic, but it's relevant. That group, none of like the backstory stuff was really talked in depth, or like their sexual preferences or anything like that was really talked about in depth. And so it was probably a little bit blindsiding for that person to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm the like odd one out. But at the same time, other than kind of in character like joking, nobody was trying to say like, hey, you're wrong for being this way. It's just
Right.
like you're the one who is slightly different, so
Yeah, you're the token.
we're going to like friendly kind of tease you, but
As I understand not all friendships are the same way, but that
Yeah.
seems like a common friendship thing to me. But again,
I also
not
in
all
this-
friends are the same way. I get that.
Yeah.
In this particular thing, I think that the juxtaposition of being the token queer versus the token straight is in fact kind of funny, right? Like, because typically when you're in a group of people, you can assume usually you're the only queer around, and
And that is not true at Even Footing Games or HamCon. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I felt about it.
Yeah.
That is, it's, it is typically not
It definitely
that way.
never occurred to me to like be sensitive about that, like at all.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like nobody was trying to say that that person needed to change their character.
No.
At least like in that way, the things that needed to change were very different. It had nothing to do with their sexuality or any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get back to Monster Hearts.
Oh, right, we're here for something else.
I mean, it's all great. Before we get back into it, really quick, if you happen to be watching and you haven't donated yet, TTRPG Talks, MSF, charity drive for Doctors Without Borders, benefiting a certain place that I've already gotten a video shadow banned for today, so I'm not going to say that place again, but you can see it up on the screen. However, please go. There are so many creators still who are they keep adding prizes by the day. While we've been on stream, I got a message that another one of our books sold, but it was to Amanda. So thanks, Amanda.
I actually bought 2. You're welcome.
Doing
I've been
so
meaning to
good.
buy the hard copies anyway, and I was like, oh, it's for charity. I'll totally do it. That's fine.
Yeah.
No problem.
Just get all the copies.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, it's fine.
You're just like offsetting all the times that we've given our books to people who play with us. It's the money that we should have made.
Listen, I'm so like, I usually just do PDFs, and like lately my brain is in like crow mode where it's like, buy all the physical things. Exactly.
I had to
It's
have
that mode right now, and I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden my brain just like switched gears, and it was like, buy the physical copies every single time.
Amanda and I were just talking about how I was having trouble finding the physical copies of Monster Hearts because they don't sell them like on Amazon, and my local game stores are kind of crappy.
I think I got mine from drive-through, maybe. Possibly.
You can't
you do
have
the print on demand?
Yeah, they can do that, but I mean, you can also go straight to Evil Hat right? Evil
Is it?
Hat?
No, theirs isn't Evil Hat because that's
That's Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
yeah. This is
It's Magpie?
no. Jesus,
Guys.
this isn't every episode. I've seen it so many times.
Buried Without Ceremony.
Yes, thank you.
When you reminded me that it's in the podcast description, I was like, oh, I always type that every week.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's gone now. Yeah, I think I got mine from Drive-Thru. I didn't realize until I think after we started playing that it actually came out in like 2018 or something.
Oh,
Really?
really?
2017. It's been around for a while.
Oh yeah. Which makes sense. So something that I would like to kind of touch on about the system, not so much our game, is that some of it kind of gives me the ick, if I'm being honest.
Of the Monster
Like-
Heart
About
system?
the
Mhm.
teenagers. That
The
it's
teenagers-
explicitly teenagers.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's super weird. Don't like that.
Also, the sex moves can be kind of an ick too. Like,
Yeah.
thankfully they do talk a little bit in the book about how like you don't have to like go along with it if somebody's trying to turn you on. You can use the shut them down, you know. But to an extent, gamifying like romance and sex can be a little iffy, you know,
Right.
depending on who you're playing with.
Right,
Because
right.
I could see this being really unpleasant with like a cishet group.
Well, it's sort of like my bard tries to seduce the dragon and I roll a nat 20.
Yeah.
Whether or not the dragon is seducible, like is there is a question of that. Nat 20 does not mean success.
Yeah.
Like hot
Or at least
take.
not like a complete success. It's not like
Yeah.
that guarantees you can blow up the sun, you know.
Right.
Well, maybe it's just that the dragon isn't deeply offended by your
Well-
Right.
pass and is just a little
Right.
bit flattered, but like, nah, I'm gonna pass, buddy.
Yeah.
So I like that in the turn someone on mechanic, it's not that you get to hook up with that person, it's I give myself to you. So you can
Right.
offer yourself.
Right.
It does not mean that the other person has to accept.
I agree. And that is something that I like about it is that it is on the player who is being seduced.
Right.
In theory,
Mhm.
you know,
As
that
it should be.
depending on how they roll, you can say, yeah, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to, you know, one of the responses is like going to be awkward and like
Yeah.
whatever. I
Promise
forget.
something you want, or I get embarrassed and act awkward.
Which never happened throughout this whole season. Not even once.
Nope.
Not even so many times.
No.
Thank you for donating, Alana. I think probably our whole team has now donated at least enough that kept us Rick and I in the squad.
Yeah, they haven't
So-
kicked us out yet. Haven't been like, oh, you guys suck.
I keep getting emails that I gotta send my books to people. So there you go.
Wow.
Oh.
There was something else in here that I don't love. A thing that kind of gives me the ick a little bit is that when they talk about how Monster Hearts is meant to be inherently queer, that part is great. I don't like
It's
that-
inherently in the closet.
Yes, I don't like that that's how they expect it to be. I think that having monsters in the closet is okay if that's what you want to do. I think that that can be a really fun thing. I think if we had stayed at the school, because I initially didn't have like the whole apocalypse thing planned. It was just like, well, we just got to keep escalating this. It's just going to keep getting weirder and weirder.
Weird. That doesn't sound like us at all.
I know, right? But like initially, I kind of thought, oh well, we can go back to the school. When we talked about it just being like a seasonal thing or like a holiday special
Yeah.
every so often, I think it could be fun to have that where you know you are hiding this secret, but maybe you know certain people know about it and things like that. But yeah, I don't like that. Their description of a queer story is you have to be in the closet. You have to be a minority. I get where they're coming from. I get it.
Mhm.
But I don't like it because we shouldn't have to be in the closet.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to be a minority. Like, we should
Right.
be able to be in a place where we are safe and comfortable.
My response to that is that maybe in the context of high school, people are still figuring things out, and that's why maybe it's a coming out.
Yeah.
However, again, I don't really want to role play children seducing other children. Like it
Yeah.
Right.
like
You can have it as like teenagers coming out of the closet, or you can have it as consenting adults making sex moves on each other. Those things cannot be combined. That's weird.
Yeah, that's the
Exactly.
whole reason why I said you are college age instead of the setting that it gives of being in high school, is because of that. Like,
Yeah, thank God.
yeah.
I get that a lot of times in like movies and TV, it is adults who are playing teenagers, and it's in some ways better than having like actual teenagers in roles pretending to be that. It makes sense to an extent, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's a little weird, especially because like all of us are 30 plus. So
Or 40 plus,
No,
you know.
Aaron, we can just say 30 plus. That's
Yeah.
how it works now.
and that means that we're also saying that Jason is younger.
Jason
Oh,
is 30
okay.
plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He'll
he
be
is
so happy.
pluser than 30 for sure.
That's
And
right.
so am I.
30 plus ultra.
Yeah.
It's okay, guys. 40 is my villain era. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling myself. I'm feeling
Oh, you should
evil.
probably not do that on stream.
Yeah, you can't do that on Twitch. It's not. No.
Guys, I didn't show you nips or feet. It's good.
I've also heard the rumor that my cat can't show her butt. So
Yeah. Not the butthole. The butt, totally fine as long as there's hair covering the butthole.
sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's
That makes sense.
definitely how cats work.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Cats are big.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I would do differently as the Thirst Master is that it's kind of expected that there's like certain reactions. I think that I would probably take more time and try to use some of those a little bit more. But at the same time, I really liked the way that we played it, where it was kind of mechanics light, because it just let us have fun and tell the story. And like every once in a while, we'd roll some dice.
Right. Yeah. We definitely are more along those lines of like, hey, oh right, dice are here.
Mm-hmm.
That couldn't be any of our games, though.
No,
No.
not at all.
But to be fair, whenever Woody ran Monster Hearts, a lot of the time we didn't roll dice. You know, I mean, I think I rolled dice to seduce Santa, but like, and then when we fought Krampus, like, you had to roll some dice there. But, you know, aside from that, like, we did a lot more role playing, or even whenever I recently played Masks. God, I think up to a certain point, I was one of the only people who even had to roll.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did like one or two rolls, and then one other person did a roll. And then we kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, this is where we're going to get to the mechanics. Like,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
once you get to a certain point. So maybe that's something, you know, for us to look at next time we play this.
I would like to utilize the strings more, or maybe do research more on how the strings works.
Like I said, we didn't use them at all. I think that was like the first thing that it said is like, we didn't use them.
No.
So there were a couple of times when I did think about because I had the mechanic of the stealing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I, though, in my head felt that the strings were like a means of control. So when everybody was like, throw away your items, I was like, no, Millie doesn't want to get rid of the
but
items.
rather than dying, that's all we're saying.
I know. I think I told Rick, after all, I was down to my last item, which was my Parker hoodie string, and I wouldn't have thrown it.
That makes sense.
And you know what? That's something that we should talk about, you know, for the people who watched this season. Aaron wanted Millie to die.
I did.
Maybe not permanently.
I didn't realize.
No,
that
I kind of, but honestly, I had kind of thought about like maybe then Millie gets to go to hell and like raise hell in hell, but or you know, but I was really like, that was the arc I was going for,
Right.
was that Millie's redemption was in sacrificing herself for these people who were maybe not quite friends, but she really did care about more than probably anybody thought she did.
Yeah.
Right. I think
Well-
it was a big testament, though, that our characters were very much like, we don't want you to die, so maybe
Right.
don't do that.
Yeah. Even though none of your characters would have really known. But
Not the point, though.
I mean, for me, I didn't expect what Lee as Laderick did. That was a fantastic move,
was cool.
hypnotizing the
brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
I fully expected you to have to come in and do some fighting, like once you dealt with the monster. And so that's why I was like, let's not do this, because there's still a lot of stream left. Like, this is too early for Millie to just be out of the game. Because I didn't feel like, without your powers especially, that they would be able to hold their own quite as much.
Well,
Wow.
and thank goodness for that montage power that Millie
Right.
suddenly came by, that she stole from babies and broadswords.
We would never steal. I don't know what you're talking about.
Nope.
Ooh,
Not
never.
even once.
From our own game, I think it's okay.
Never.
Loud.
But the other thing was something, again, that Aaron, you and I had talked about. The episode where you were all in the cells under Dollywood. Something that I don't think really came through, partially just because we were a chaotic mess that night, was the way that Millie was kind of upset about Parker.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't
That's
think that's
true.
something that we've really been able to express on stream, because it didn't really come up in the last session.
Was it
That's
when
true.
Parker was ignoring you? From your
Yeah.
cell?
Not ignoring. They didn't know.
Yeah. So, and Rick and I talked about this afterward, but like, I was deep in the Millie feels at that point. Because like, I'm out of control. I'm in a cell. I'm looking for the person who I've been attached to the hip by since Thanksgiving.
Attached to
and
the
it's
genitals by.
exactly. At some point, like, we decided it's a month week or a week, 2-week month
Yeah.
or something. Like, it had been a while, and we were constantly, yes, attached to the genitals. That's fine. And then I'm away from that person, and they're not even looking around, and I'm like going, are you okay? Like, and trying to get everybody's attention, and nobody's looking back at me, and I'm like, nobody cares.
And they're just having like a little dance party with their new cellmate.
Yeah. And I'm like, and then I throw the thing, I get my nose broken. I'm almost dead from having my nose broken.
Like you do.
Yeah. Then I was just like, in my mind, when I was like, well, I'm gonna obviously go and try to bind whoever is doing this. Like, I knew that in my head. That was the only power I had worthwhile. But I had initially thought, oh, I can use Bob the Blob, and I'd grab Parker too, because Parker's my person. But then after that, I was like, well, I don't know if Parker's my person. Like, I don't know if they care. And so, so when I went off with Bob to find Crackerjack, the Cerberus Terrier of Dolly's, I definitely kind of thought that I was going down there with my last hit point. I was just going to, and like, nobody would know. It was going to have been over, and she would have given up things for the friends, and maybe would have gone to hell to like fight her grandma to the death, or the hell death. I don't know.
As you do,
But at the same time, we even established in the hell episode, she just goes there on the weekends, to be hot and party. So you can still deal with her in the real world.
Change. That's going to change, because you actually forgot that I talked to you. I said grandma needs to not come back from hell, and for my game, and that didn't happen. So I gotta write something in there, because that's an important part of my game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we can definitely work that in, you know, that was kind of the way we left things in Hell, but we don't really know what happened, you know. A lot of stuff could have happened. Because
True.
we don't really know, because I didn't really decide, I didn't think about it. Like how Hell responds to, hey, the apocalypse was postponed again.
Okay.
You know?
It happens.
Yeah. I do think you know, it'll probably be a little while. Maybe even like next October we'll do another one shot. Because I would really like to kind of show the Hell side of things and like
Yeah, and that is definitely so we are going to have a Valentine's Day episode that is with new and old kids. Rena and Parker will be there. Millie will be an NPC this time. We're going to have some new kids. But there's
kids being college kids.
Yeah,
Right.
college kids.
Adult kids, yes.
Yeah.
Adult kids. But there are going to have been some changes back at Garden Grove University. So but Millie has machinations on Hell. And that's pretty much what people need to know.
That's
Is
awesome.
that she's working towards taking over.
Ooh, that could be fun though.
Yeah.
I don't
Ooh.
want to spoil too much more than that, but
Well,
because I feel like that's pretty.
I'm just thinking ahead for October, like depending on how things end next month, you know, that could really set something up for our next Monster
There you
Hearts
go.
one shot. So, and I think in theory, I would like to run this for Hammer of the Gods at some point and do it like in our homebrew world. I think that'd be really fun. But
Yeah, it would.
but also we need to do like Pandaros Babies and Broadswords because I think that'd be fun too.
Yes, we would.
And we need to do an ink of the ghosts in Hades. I'm telling you, you gotta work the
Ink is coming at some point. I don't know if that'll be like, because I don't really want to wrap Pandaros. We're way off topic now, but I don't really want to wrap that. I really like that, and there's still a lot we can do with it. I mean, you still have this year and next year.
I didn't mean that they needed to be our characters who are dying. We can have
Well,
new
yeah.
ones.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if that would be something where maybe we do like a different night where it's a second show that's just like a mini series, you know, kind of like the mini campaign that I'm doing for the Bacteria, you know, where it's like I might even do more than like 4 or 5 episodes, you know, like 6 or 7, just to say like, hey, let's see.
Or 9.
Or
9's
10.
a great lucky number.
Yeah. I mean, we almost had 13 on Kids on Bikes, but then you made a 14th happen. So
That's because the 13 we hadn't finished.
shh, I don't know what you're talking about.
I love how Jason's just like, oh, what did I miss? Oh, just the stream that you said you were coming
Yeah.
to.
The whole thing. The
Just
entire
everything.
thing.
No problem.
Well, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think
Think
so.
so. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But it's always fun to talk systems. And
yeah.
I feel like I know this is not but just us. However, with the Rick, the 3 of us specifically played in like 4 systems in 4 days. And
That's
is
awesome.
it only 4? Well, because Kids on Brooms, Call of Cthulhu, Orbital Blues, Monster Hearts.
And then what did you do?
Oh yeah,
on
you
I
guys,
guess-
Saturday?
you guys weren't
well,
on Saturday.
you and I were doing our friend in Witchcraft. Like there was a lot of
Ooh,
game
yeah.
mechanics in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, because then Monday we did
And then we
my
did
Monday and Supernatural Life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Play that
Which
next time.
Amanda, you have to do that. We're gonna
Yeah.
bully you into it.
that was
that's
good.
fair.
That was really
That's
good.
fair. I only didn't because I'm so busy at work right now, but
I get it.
It's
very
it's
interesting.
fine. And honestly, I want to basically GM for somebody. I
Nice.
want it to be a 2-player with a GM, is what I think I would do to make it better.
I think that it would be more ideal if we just give them the prompts, like
Well,
first
yeah,
date, and
that's
like
what I mean as a
here's like
GM.
yeah, like here's
So
your
like
stuff.
you're preparing. There you go. You have it.
Exactly. Yeah, like a very loose GM.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, like
Yeah.
I'm so strict with my GMing, Rick.
the most strict.
Always. Yeah.
All
Well,
of you. It's the worst.
I think just in case that they're going to end soon, why don't we go ahead and rate the Hype Goblin?
Let's do it.
Let's do
Sweet.
it.
Hype Goblin is, of course, on Team Green. Make sure your donation to TikTok RPGs, TTRPG's TikTok, backward, says Green Team on it because Green Team is the best and definitely not suddenly in contention for
Losing.
not being the best.
On that note, yeah, go do the thing, and we'll see y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't. Oh, why
It
didn't
did
it?
it that time.
It did already.
Oh, well, end stream. Hold on.